Okay.
There it is.
This is Ellen
Take it from the top,
Roger
Ellen.
Sherman, Ellen Marks, Roger Sherman Building Committee, September 1st, 2020. Okay.
All right. This is Eric Lang, Chairman of the Building Committee. The meeting is officially called to order. First item on the agenda is an update from Colliers on the number plate install in the lockers, construction schedule, financial status report, and any other additional information relevant to the committee. Mark, you want to take it away?
Yep, Mark Schweitzer with Colliers. Number plate install. I've traded emails with the Penco rep, and I've tried to get him on the phone a couple of times, and reading through his emails of what he's saying, from the sounds of it is Penco won't release the number plates to him because PSI still has an open balance with Penco. So it's a vicious catch-22. PSI can't pay them without us releasing funds to PSI so they can pay Penco, so Penco can release the number plates to Peter, who is the rep. So I have not confirmed this with through Peter, but from what I'm gathering is if we get funds to Penco, they will release the number plates to Peter, and in turn he'll get them down to us, and upon that we can So what I'm going to ask Peter to do is give me a proposal for how much the number plates are going to cost, and then we can and then shipping or whatever, double it and hold that money till we get the number plates, and then upon that take whatever is left over from what the number plates are going to cost. That way, if we never get the number plates, we have money to go directly to Penco and buy them, and then release whatever is left over from that to PSI so they can pay Penco, so Penco can release the number plates to Peter, is what I would recommend.
So
does
Mark,
anybody on the... Yep.
Yeah, sorry, Mark, one question. I think in principle that makes sense, but it relies on the fact that Penco is only due monies for the nameplates. And I mean, do you know how much they're owed by PSI? Because they could be owed much more than the couple hundred bucks
on other jobs. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean that is something I can find out what Penco is saying is outstanding on this project, and take it from there. I mean, if it's less than what we are holding for on PSI for the number plates, it's a non-issue. If it's greater than the $6,000 that we are holding, there's an issue.
Yeah, then we have a bigger issue with PSI. Yeah.
Correct. So my first thing is I've called Peter the last couple of days and with no return. So I want to find out what PSI's balance is, and if it's just what we are holding on them, and then work it out that way where we get the price of the number plates and we hold that, and release that plus a markup, and then release the balance of that to PSI to pay Penco, so they can release the number plates.
This is Meredith McCormick. Can I ask a question really directed to Sal?
Yep.
Is there, Sal, do you kind of keep track of perhaps what vendors we might not want to work with again so this doesn't happen to a future building committee?
Sal?
Meredith, it's Gerald Foley.
Hey, Gerald.
Yeah, so what would happen is it would be my recommendation that the committee, through Eric, write a letter to my office, and then we'll keep it on file. So if we don't want to, utilize the same company, we'll have a note from the building committee that you were dissatisfied with their service.
Okay. So I guess, Eric, you can take that under advisement. I have not been impressed with them, and this is just dragging on, and I wouldn't recommend them to another building committee. So I just wanted to know how to proceed with that. Thank you.
Mark Schweitzer, Colliers again. So, without talking to Peter, this is speculation on my part, but from my experience and from the communication or lack thereof from Penco, I believe this is what is happening. So I want to get confirmation from the Penco rep to make sure, and I can report back to the building committee on that, and we can take it from there. But is this a course of action that you want me to proceed on?
Yeah, so we just to confirm, we had previously released payment pending receipt of the number plates, right? I think that was the motion.
I thought we tabled the thing.
All right.
No,
I believe it was.
The motion was to hold until we receive the plates. Check with Ellen can read that. I think it's on the minutes from the last meeting.
Yeah, it should be. I just pulled them up myself.
Yeah, this is Patrice Pine. I just want to say this is horseshit. Excuse me.
Yeah, so the motion from last week was to approve the PSI invoice in the amount of $6,000 pending receipt of properly numbered number plates in good and installable condition as reviewed by Colliers. So, so that's what we had previously approved, and I guess we're not getting the number plates until they get paid.
Yeah.
So,
excuse me, it's Sal, and if I may, is there any possibility that that Penco will just sell us the number plates and we hold it back from PSI? I'm not overly concerned that I don't have number plates of. I'll get my label maker out there and we'll put some numbers on it. But I only got so many dams to give, and I'm not going to waste one on this.
Right. So, and the number plates can only cost what, $100, $200. But
what can they?
My bigger
cost?
concern is that they're owed more money than that. And if they're owed more money than that, for let's say the base, the actual product itself, the full
right,
lockers,
but we're
it could
looking
be
at
much more than that.
Right, and this is, and I was just going to say it's a diversity problem. I forgot that we contracted directly on that.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yep. Patrice Klein, point of clarification, everybody. We're getting, what I'm hearing is that PSI is holding us hostage over their $6,000. What was that, Mark?
It's Penco. It is Penco that's holding us hostage, not PSI.
But Penco is saying they won't release number plates because I'm telling you, I believe PSI called them and said, we want our money. Why don't you just hold those plates, and we'll get our money first, and then we'll come back to you for those plates. That's what I'm seeing. And, I'm reading between the lines, Mark, but is anybody else reading between the lines like I am? Sal?
I mean they're holding our little number plates hostage for their payment, and that's fine. They're drawing us into their relationship problem. My question to Mark is, per state contract, who had the state contract, PSI or Penco?
It's not on the state contract. It's on the consortium. So it's outside the state contract.
Okay, which consortium was it, and was it for PSI or was it for Penco?
It's for PSI.
Okay.
The contract is with PSI.
The contract
Penco is the distributor. Correct.
But they're not the ones that had the consortium contract.
PSI has the consortium contract, yes.
Okay. All right. And we haven't talked to, we can tell PSI that we're going to go to the consortium and tell them that they don't pay their bills, and that's, it's almost like a DAS pre-certification. I would think they wouldn't want a negative review.
Yeah. But they'll turn around and say, how can we pay our bills when you haven't paid us?
But in retrospect to that, guys, then let's pay them the cost of the number plate. I mean, this is the actual cost of the number plate. What are we
Yes.
This is right, and it's one of those things that Penco needs to understand. They're not going to get their money if they don't release these 50-cent parts, and they're causing their own woe.
Yeah, right.
They're the ones that made the mistake. They're the ones at fault because the numbers were wrong, and to hold they're holding up whatever their $5,000 that they're owed by PSI because they won't release $100 worth of locker plates.
Parts.
It's parts. It's stupid. It's silly.
Yeah,
it's very silly. So
I mean, do they really think that the town of Fairfield isn't going to pay them? Going to release the funds if they fulfill their end of the bargain? And it is.
Not for anything. I know that you folks would want to, end of September when we get everything started up. You possibly would want one or two meetings past that, and you want to be done. But skin off my nose whether I have label maker on those things for the next 6 months, and they're held up on $5,000 because they're being stubborn over a nickel and dime thing. Yeah, that's fine. I'll work with you. I don't know what to tell you.
All right. So I think Mark then just call Penco and say this is what the building committee has approved. Release the 50-cent pieces, and you'll get the balance of your money's due.
Okay. And any other questions on the number plates? Moving on, we've had Giacobbe was in last week and installed the shelf above the lockers in K10. Ferrar's painting was in last week and completed the painting of the locker walls. So that is complete. And as of this afternoon, BCI was probably 75 to 80% complete in the rear hallway with the floor tile and the base. So they probably have another 2 days worth of work to complete the hallway and the front hallway, and they'll be done. So that work is progressing.
And sounds like it should be done this week.
It will be, yes.
Great.
Mark, what were those three companies again? Giacobbe, and who was the painting?
Ferraro's.
Thank you.
And BCI. Bartholomew, I forget what the C is, but interiors. Okay, moving on. Update on the construction schedule. Prior to the 7 o'clock call, myself, Dave Stein, and Eric was on a call with Diversity. There was some cryptic emails that were going back and forth this afternoon, and we wanted to get a hold of Diversity to make sure where we are on this project. As of right now, 20% of the VRFs have been started in the classrooms. They have their startup company coming back for Thursday and Friday of this week, and they will confirm tomorrow, but the goal is to start up all the VRFs in the classroom and have them running for next week. Then the startup company has been booked for the first couple weeks in September. They should be back third or fourth week in September for the startup and the controls of the rooftop units. So by the end of September, not only will the classrooms be air conditioned, but the rooftop units for the library media, the APR, and the gym will be up and running.
So, Mark, are they confirmed for this Thursday and Friday? I thought
they are. Well, they are. One is confirmed for Thursday and Friday. If it's their VRF group or their rooftop unit group is what they're got to confirm.
Okay. So, I'll state it for the record. What I stated on the call this afternoon is that we need to pull every lever we have to make sure that it's the VRF team, because I think at this point, given the and Dr. Banner, you could tell me if I'm mistaken here, but given the way school is going to be run for the foreseeable future, that student instruction is going to be almost exclusively in the classrooms, and things like gym, library sciences, lunch, those spaces that are serviced by the RTUs are not going to, as I understand it, get the daily use that they otherwise would under normal circumstances. So in my personal opinion, it is much more important to get the classrooms conditioned than those other ancillary spaces.
I would
Dr.
certainly
Banner,
agree with that, Eric. Right. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yes, I would definitely concur. The specialist areas really at this point are, as Eric said, going to be doing the remote work, but they won't be in classrooms. The classrooms are going to be critical.
Okay, so Mark, in your conversations with John and his subs, let's just make sure we drive that home and we relay that, the importance that we get the VRF.
Get the classrooms up and running.
Yeah. Yep. The other sorry, I think I just cut someone off.
Go ahead, Eric.
The other question I had for John and Sal, this you may be able to answer this, is regarding the the DOAS system that was installed in phase 2. As I understand it, it's completely independent of the VRFs, although it does provide the fresh air that they feed off of. So I want to make sure that that system is up and running. And I know it's not in Diversity's. There was nothing in Diversity's contract to do with that. So I think it falls squarely in Fairfield Public Schools. But with all the electrical work and the heavy up, I want to make sure that those are properly powered. I didn't know if
we're hi, Eric and Sal. Thanks for the question. Sherman, along with all of our schools, we're running through our systems. We're checking to make sure systems are on, motors are running, dampers are working. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and then on top of that, we'll be making those repairs. We're also doing our filter changes as we progress. We do have some MERV 13 filters. We do have MERV 11 filters, so on and so forth. So we're working through the buildings. That's a maintenance team with an outside vendor working on all of those things in all of our schools. And just because there's a construction project at Sherman, we're not forgetting Sherman and assuming that a contractor that doesn't have that scope of work is doing something for us mysteriously. We're on it. Ian and I were just talking. Dr. Banner and I were just talking about that just prior to the meeting. So we're working through it, and we're doing our best to get everything squared away before kids come in on Tuesday.
Great. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't think I didn't mean to imply that you weren't, but I just wanted to make sure that they weren't affected.
You had to
by
ask the question.
Electrical.
I know.
Yeah, and I wanted to make sure that it was that they weren't tied back into the new electrical panels, and that there wasn't any if that were the case, and they were to get tied in, that they weren't getting overlooked by Diversity or their electrician or anyone.
Right. I'll have a powwow with the technician tomorrow morning. I know that he was by this afternoon, so I'll get truly that's a maintenance thing, but because this is major construction, I have a major construction here. I have a major construction at Osborne and Burr and Ludlow Middle School. I pay more attention. I focus in on those things to make sure that we're coordinated. So, I don't. It's sometimes it's something as silly. One of our technicians walk in and there could be a worker that's barking at him. You're picking a fine time to do that. You're really screwing me up. And my technician will just walk away without telling anybody. So, I always check in on that kind of stuff.
All right, good.
But to make sure it's not happening, or if it does happen, to make sure that we overcome the problem.
All right. It's Meredith McCormick. I just want the minutes to reflect that Eric has already said it, but this is very critical for Diversity to get these up and running. And in the weekly construction meetings that we've been having, Eric literally asked the question, do you need a team of people to come in and oversee it, or, can you guys get these up and running yourself? And Diversity said, no, we don't need anyone else involved. We can get them up and running. Whatever the verbiage was, that was the bottom line. So if we got these RTUs down to the minute, got them all hooked up, and got all the classrooms wired, if Diversity can't get these up and running before the start of school, it's going to reflect very badly, my opinion, of Diversity. So I just want to reiterate that the building committee asked the question and diversity wasn't on top of what needed to happen. So hopefully they can rectify that. My question is to Dr. Banner or Sal, are we allowed to use air conditioning in schools?
Can you clarify your question, please?
Like, wasn't there some talk of not being able to use air conditioning because of COVID? Can the units in the classrooms be on with COVID?
Yes,
yes, they can be on.
I spoke to. Sorry, go ahead, Sal. Yeah,
I'm sorry, Mike. I was messing around with my mute button. Yes, we can have the air conditioning on. There was there's a lot of stuff floating out there. There's people that are in seminars that make generic statements that people, it's one of those things. When the legend becomes a fact, is more the legend. So there is some misinformation about systems that you can run out there in the the professional domain. We're going by the written guidance of the state, written guidance for other building codes, reference standards like ASHRAE. Dave can probably expound upon this, but yes, we can run our air conditioners. What we don't want to use is oscillating fans. That in the past you've seen them, big fans on a stand, going back and forth, making a nice breeze for the staff and the students, and we've used those the past few summers, but those are no-nos. But as far as our air conditioning, we're good, safe.
Thanks.
No problem.
All right.
And then just Mark Schweitzer again with Caius, just to finish off the, I guess my points on the update. The financial status report we had is basically the same as I reported at the last meeting. We had one invoice for $1,400. So at the next meeting when I have diversity's pay application and Silver Petrocelli's and any other, I will provide the financial status report to the group prior to or at the meeting.
Okay.
This is Patrice. I just want to say something. I'm having some powering issues with my my devices. So if I click off, it's not intentional. It's a power issue.
All right. Okay. So I guess other than the RTUs and the miscellaneous kind of touch-up work in the corridors with the paint and the floor tile, the base, stuff like that, Mark, can you just give the committee a general picture of what the school looks like in terms of work getting complete, ceilings getting closed up, general cleaning, how do things look at this point in the game 1 week out from school starting?
They are, well, as of last Friday when I was there, and just getting reports from Sal from this morning, they need to clean. They need to remove their excess materials and their construction equipment, the job boxes and all that. That essentially they are complete with installation as far as the VRFs, the conduits in the conduits in the roof, the duct work, and all that. So any excess construction material should be leaving, or better be leaving the building this week. They need to clean with a mop and broom and the areas. The classrooms are pretty well neat and tidy. It is more of the gym, the APR, and they were still doing work in the LMC on Friday, that they need to make sure that they have their construction materials out, their job boxes out, and any excess materials need to leave the building. And then they have to clean essentially those 3 spaces and the corridors.
Sorry, you said that's all by the end of the day Friday?
Yes.
Okay.
Has to be.
Yeah.
None of these vendors are working into the weekend.
It's not unheard of that construction people do it on Labor Day weekend, but they try not to, so they try to finish up everything by the Friday before Labor Day.
Eric, I think that one of the committee members or Dr. Banner has to be there Friday afternoon to see what it looks like so that we can inform Mark if we're scared and need to get those people in during the weekend, because it has got to look ready on Tuesday.
Well, I just want to add, too, that we have these trial days coming over the next 2 days, 3 days, of the classrooms going in. What is it going to look like, when the students go in for a trial day and things are still being...
Well, if I can chime in and just answer that, just to give some specifics, because we understand, obviously, there's still lots of work to be done and a lot of things that have to be moved into the gymnasium, which is yet to be completed. But the children are all going into the outer doors of classrooms anyway as part of the new arrival, and the dismissal will be from those doors too. So there's no real need for kids to be in hallways. However, if any child does need to go to the bathroom, that would be the only time, and I'll be in the hallway anyway for that reason. But for the most part, I think we'll be fine. They're in the classroom, about 30 minutes really tops in there, and that's all they'll need.
And also, this is Sal, also to add on to that, Diversity did have their cleaning crew come through. They do have their excess materials out of the gymnasium. What's in there now is our stuff, a lot of gymnasium mats and things like that. Joe Sesty and the custodial crew have begun to start moving some of the excess contents that are supposed to go to the gymnasium into the gymnasium. They're starting from the back wall and moving forward. And there's a lot of furniture that's still in the hallway, but now that logjam is free, they can move all that excess into the gymnasium. And if push comes to shove, it doesn't. They need supplemental custodial help. We'll give them help. We're here for the success of the job and the school opening and all that good stuff. So, we will help out and make sure that it looks good opening day.
It's Meredith. Can I ask a question while we're on that topic? I know we didn't get the floors in the hallway by the lockers done, giving you too much time to wax the floors. How is that timing going to work?
We're going to get the floors at least mopped. Whether they're fully scrubbed, we do have to wait for the floor tiles to dry properly. So
right.
We'll take care with that. The positive thing is we didn't have a full full school year worth of trampling
Grime
on
to
the
clean up.
floors. Yeah. So we got a different kind of dusty grime as opposed to, believe it or not, the pounding of the little shoes are probably worse than a construction worker. So
Right.
there's that plus on it. So we will get them clean. We'll make it presentable and professional and sanitary for the kids coming in.
All right. Thanks, Al, and thanks to Mr. Sesti, too. You guys have been great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I just want to add, too, that I know we were talking about the end of September for the startups for the library, media, and gym, and just that we obviously don't want those to slip too far out, and we don't want to lose focus and stay on top of those because they are special areas that hopefully, optimistically, the kids will eventually, start to be there and do that kind of programming as we go through the next couple of weeks.
Yes, for sure.
Those areas need to be comfortable when, in fact, they do return to those, and hopefully they will.
Can I just add also that the teachers will still be working in those rooms, so it's not like they're actually closed. Just kids won't be in there, but teachers still will be.
Mm. Yeah, good point.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
unfortunate that probably by the time they come online, they won't really be needed. John from Diversity did mention that he and his subs are working, and there is, I guess, an outside possibility that if things free up, that we could get the startup crews out there sooner. So I think that's something that I would encourage Mark and David in your regular communications with Diversity to make sure that we're checking in and making sure that if there is if they do have a cancellation on their schedule, that we can we're the first ones they call to come out and get these things started up. So let's just be that squeaky wheel, and maybe we'll luck out and get these things started up sooner. Sorry, Jenna, I think I cut you off. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just wanted to make sure we're going to stay on top of those. I understand, everyone's so busy right now and construction schedules are sliding, and it's fine, I think, to be flexible with those areas given where we're at right now. I just don't want it to slip too much in the event that hopefully the kids do, get to be in those areas. And like Dr. Banner said, the teachers are in those areas too. So, and we did promise to the school generally as a committee that, we would be up and running with the start of school. So I just didn't want it to slip. That's all.
Right. I guess, and the last question I have is for Dr. Banner. As I understand it, there have been a handful, 3 or 4 units that have been started up and are conceivably running as we speak. Have you? I don't know what classrooms they're in, but have you received any feedback from those teachers as to whether or not they are indeed working and running smoothly? Or
yeah, I was actually in a kindergarten class. I think it was on Friday, may have been Monday. These days are bleeding together. But the teacher was incredibly thrilled that it was just a really nice, comfortable temperature, one that they'd never experienced before at Sherman. Disappointed the next day when it wasn't necessarily the exact same. But, I have explained to staff that, you could, as we calibrate and we still have to, get a consistent temperature. So don't be patient with all this work. But the kindergarten rooms, as I am aware, are the two rooms, 10 and I think it was 11, that had a nice temperature. I'm not sure about the others. I've not been able to get around as much.
Okay. And as far as noise goes and everything, they were comfortable with, the output of the units.
Yeah, those two rooms in particular, 10 and 11, there was no noise at all. It was just a very nice, comfortable temperature. So that alone was good.
Great.
It has to be a whole lot better than oscillating fans everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, good. So hopefully we can, by the end of the week, we'll be able to get similar reports from every teacher. Knock on wood. All right. I guess any other questions for Mark? All right, moving along. Next item on the agenda is an update from Silver Petroselli. Update on construction and any new change orders. David, any
Eric?
to report there? Yep.
Eric,
Yes.
did we do the update on the financial status report under agenda item 2?
Yeah, we did. Mark, do you want to just kind of reiterate what you said before?
Yeah.
I think we kind of got mixed up in some of the other conversations.
Okay. Mark Schweitzer Colliers. Yeah, the status is the same as reported at the last meeting. We had one invoice for $1,400. It has been the only movement on that. So at the next meeting, when we have diversities and probably 3 or 4 other invoices, I will distribute the financial status report to the committee.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Eric, go ahead.
All right. David, next item on the agenda is an update from Silver Petroselli, construction update as well as any new change orders.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. David Stein. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
We can. Yep.
Great. David Stein with Silver Petroselli. I think we covered a lot of the status of construction, but just to reiterate, in preparation of tonight's meeting, sort of essentially triggered that earlier conference call, an update that Eric, myself, and Mark had with John from Diversity. I do echo Meredith's concerns. Some of the correspondence we have gotten over the last month or so hasn't been crystal clear as we've been asking questions. I am projecting what their closeout piece was and what sort of the risks of them finishing on time. They are, I think, managing this on a day-to-day basis as opposed to them projecting a week out or 2 weeks out. We got a bit more clarity of where they are with our meeting today. We're going to need to just manage this even closer to see where they're going and to see if they're going to be able to, fulfill their commitments within the next week, within the next 2 weeks, and then obviously what they're talking about with their closeout at the end of at the end of September. We will make it clear that we are not accepting these units. They were using terminology. They'll be substantially complete in the middle of September, but they're going to be doing testing and balancing. I just want to reassure the committee that our position is we will not be signing any substantial completion until these units are fully tested and balanced. And essentially substantial completion in per the contract is when you take beneficial use of that space and when warranties begin. So we will not be accepting their initial anticipation of a mid-September substantial completion because we do not want to prematurely start the warranty time period until it's appropriate. So we are tracking this the best
David,
we can.
Sorry, David, if I may just interject. I think one point of clarification there was that from what I heard from John earlier was that even though these units are started up and are functional and operational for the teachers, they have not yet been tied into the building management system. And that is likely not going to happen. That's going to almost be like a phase 2 of the startup, and that's what's hopefully going to be happening more towards the end of the month. Is that? And I guess once that is done, then that would be what we would consider substantial completion. Correct?
Yeah, that is correct. And just one other point is essentially all of the equipment, all the wires are connected, that there aren't parts and pieces that still need to be installed. John used the analogy that, the car is sitting in the lot and ready to go, and Eric said, well, you haven't given us the keys yet. So, that's kind of where we are. In some regard, that's reassuring, is that major construction work right now is in place. It is that last percentage of startup balance and final check to essentially hand the keys over to you yet. And that needs to take place. And so there was we obviously are just concerned to make sure that this last piece, which honestly is the most important piece, is done correctly. And so we're going to have to manage them even closer than we have to get better reassurance, because at the moment the information is not crystal clear. So that's where we are. In terms of change orders, I do not have nothing that's been presented to us, and there's nothing new. So that's sort of our update at the moment.
Okay, great. Thank you, David. Any questions for David from the committee? All right. Not hearing any. Moving along, next time on the agenda is to hear, consider, and act upon the following items. First being approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of August 18th, 2020. I'll make a motion to approve these minutes. Do I have a second?
Second the motion to approve the minutes by Patrice Klein.
Thank you, Patty. Any discussion from the committee? Not hearing any. Move to vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Oh, all right. Opposed? Oh, I guess the dog opposes.
Sorry about that.
No worries. It was perfectly on cue. Any abstentions? None. Okay. I don't believe we have any change orders to consider. Is that right, Mark and David?
Correct. No change orders.
All right. And I think, Mark, there's pulling up the invoices now. There's one invoice from Giacobbe Construction.
Correct. And this is for the shelf above in K10.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the invoice from Giacobbe Construction, invoice number 200827-01 in the amount of $1,380.00. Do I have a second?
Second. Eric, one point of information, please. Dr. Banner, have you seen the shelf?
The one in the room 11 or room 10? Sorry,
in the K10. Yeah.
Room 10.
Kindergarten 10.
Room 10. Yeah. I did. It was a quick browse, but based on what I saw from that quick glance, it looked fine.
Okay. Well, I just want to hear somebody who's seen it. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, that's all, Eric. I just
other...
wanted to see if we had any eyes on it other than the person who did it, and I'm hoping that certainly that Mark had his eyes on it.
I saw it too, Patty.
And Sal. Okay, good. And you're both in agreement. It looks pretty outstanding.
Pretty
Lovely.
okay, outstanding. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's Meredith. I don't have the original proposal in front of me. Mark, was this the same price we were expecting it to be?
Yes. It was $1,380.
Okay.
Great. All right. Any additional questions from the committee on this invoice? All right, not hearing any. I will make a motion. I think I actually made the motion. So all those in favor of approving this invoice, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Not hearing any. Any abstentions? Not hearing any. Okay. Moving along, one item under old business is update on the potential plaque and ceremony. Patrice, do you want to provide an update on your efforts?
Yes, I can give you a basic update. Basically, the plaques that came from Gerald were, pretty consistent with what we probably want to do. So when we choose the actual plaque, we can go with Gerald on that and on the vendor and all that. The lead up to that is determining who goes on the plaque. I did, as you asked, and contacted Jennifer Carpenter in the First Selectman's office and asked for the names of anybody on a building committee for Roger Sherman in the last several years, for the part of this phase, and also if there were, when there were standing committees that were charged, how does that go about? We were on an email which Sal, I believe you were included in, and I think what's going to happen is I'm still waiting for Jennifer to compile the information and forward it to us, so we have to wait for that. But when it comes to us, we have to determine, who qualifies to be on the plaque and what capacity. I mean, we could give a nod to standing committees without naming members, but we should focus, if we determine, we will focus on the building committee and those who put the majority of time in, we'll do that. So again, it's pending the information that Jennifer supplies me with, which I have not got yet. Okay. But it has been asked for, and we are awaiting it.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll
and just, Eric, one more thing on the ceremony. Basically, I from hearsay and asking about ceremonies, but basically they're done in the early evening after the kids are out of the building. People are home from work who serve on the committee, and it's very informal. You break, it's done. You take a picture, invite the paper to be there, invite the school photographer, a town photographer, or something like that, and it's pretty succinct.
Okay. Essentially a photo op.
Right, and I would suggest that we do not do it prior to the full completion of the project. So probably sometime middle of October, I'm guesstimating, like October 15th. It'll be beautiful for a photograph.
I agree with you 100%. Has there been any discussion on potential mounting location, or do any members of the committee have any thoughts on where we might want to put it, or for that matter, Sal or Dr. Banner?
Yeah. I think we defer to Sal and Dr. Banner of where they've been placed previously, where there is room at Sherman, and Dr. Banner and Sal would have, some good input there.
Yeah, Sal and I can certainly discuss that.
There may be some BOE, stipulations too, as far as where they want plaques placed so they can keep it kind of uniform.
Yeah,
there actually isn't, and we usually work with the principal to find a suitable location. You go to different buildings. They don't necessarily all cluster in the same place. Tomlinson's auditorium addition has its plaque, while other plaques in that building are in the main lobby. And things like that. Same thing happen over at Fairfield Woods. So we'll find an appropriate location.
Yeah, I imagine you have to take size of the facility into consideration and,
yes,
space available. Mm-hmm. So that's all I have, Eric.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so we'll, I think, keep this on the agenda and revisit again at our next meeting.
Absolutely. I should have everything from Jen by then.
Great. Next item, any old business any members of the committee would like to raise? Nope, not hearing any. All right, moving along. Any new business? Not hearing any either. All right. So with that, I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
It's Meredith, I'll second.
All right. Love how everyone always jumps in on the second for this one. All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Goodbye.
Right.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Stay safe.
Good night.
Good night.